which, guys, I guarantee all of you will get progressings in math at some point this year. So, if you have a progressing, you do corrections on a separate piece of graph paper. We're going to work on how we set up our own papers and things. We're going to practice this today in class. But if you needed to revise number 1, which I feel like most of us don't need to because you were just figuring out that, like always, Dave beat me. He beat me last week at game night again, just by the way, in case we didn't talk about that. We played Space Base and Azul. Also, just shameless plug for myself. Speaking of games, my game lunch has started of we have lots of games that we own here at school and play. If you start showing up to game lunch and you're like, well, I don't know how to play that, I would like to learn, and I often talk about Azul, I have a Schoology page for learning board games. And you can go into Schoology and just real quickly you can learn how to play the games. That, or you can show up and I can teach you. But just by the way, if you would like a direct link to all of my favorite games and how you can learn how to play them, guys, I've literally all of my favorite games. Because really, if I could just figure out a way to get a paycheck to come to a building and play board games, I would have won at life. But, so if you would like to have me add you to that class, just come see me at some point. Harrison. At lunch. So every day. Literally. Unless I'm not here. If I'm not here, it's going to be up to the sub if they want to do it, and they probably won't because managing lots of board games is kind of stressful. But yeah, so shameless plug. Because weather has started to get crappy, we're doing board game lunch. Jay. Fugitive is a number chase game. That's all I want to talk about right now, because otherwise it'll be 20 minutes from now and I'll still be talking about my favorite games. So, on our revisions page, whatever number you're doing a revision for, you write that down, and then you write some work for how you're figuring out a different answer. If you get the same answer, it's probably still wrong. Since it was wrong the first time, it's probably still wrong. Then, you could section it off and do whatever work for your other one. You could section that off, do whatever other work. Sorry, 3 comes after 2, not another 2. And then staple it together. Staple it together. Now, I don't really care that much, but it's easier for me if you put the graph paper on top, because then I can put your new grade on top. If your graph paper's on the bottom, it's fine, but it's easier if it's on top. They got to be stapled together. You can't just turn in your revisions, because I need to see what you did the first time. Right? I need to be able to compare. Oh yeah, you got it wrong the first time. Now you figured out your mistake. Or come see me. That's what AO and extensions and those times are built into our day for, so that you can come and meet with teachers. If you think man, this was a dumb mistake, I just want to go explain what I did, just come see me. Just come explain what you did. If you don't know what to do, and you're like, man, I'm still stuck. I totally don't know what to do. Come see me and get help. Email me and ask hey, I still can't figure out whatever, and I'll try to email you, or then I'll put you on my list of I need to grab them from AO or extensions, or even sometimes reading. Because I don't have as much AO and extensions time as I used to, I will pull people during reading, but I need to know that you need my help. So email me and set up an appointment. Mason? So you had a hand up, didn't you? All right. So that is how we do mastery revisions. Do you do your revisions on the test? No, they go on a separate piece of graph paper. So right now, a great idea, well actually you can keep this out if you want, because my plan is to give you at least 5 minutes at the end of class to work on revising this if you need to. So keep it out, but push it to the front of your table. Get your other piece of graph paper, since you definitely got 2 pieces of graph paper. And we're going to label it 3.3.2 to start to keep track of what we've done during a class. If we don't use all of our paper today, we could then use it tomorrow for lesson 3.3.3. But normally what happens is stuff that you're being asked to do on 3.3.2, like this problem that we're going to end up doing together during class, uses the same skills we practiced during class. So that's why it helps to have a label, because then if you're going to work on 332 and you're like, crap, I'm stuck, maybe I should check my notes and what we did during class. The first thing we're going to write down is 16 feet. That's as far as I made it, because then I was working up on the board. Homework. Please don't let it stack up. Every year, I end up with somebody in tears because they have let their homework build up for 2 weeks, and now they think it's like a mountain they can't climb. Which you can. You'll be able to catch up, but please do not because I don't collect it daily. If you need to tell yourself this is due tomorrow, this is due tomorrow, I'm collecting them on Friday, but guys, look over at what's due Friday. It's a lot. So a couple of you turned in 325 already, and I'll give it back to you. We haven't. No. Are you going home? Jenny? All right. Well, this is going to be weird. Jenny, I'm mad at you. Jenny, I'm mad at you. No, okay. So you can watch the video. I'm recording right now. So I totally got lost in my train of thought. Please don't let homework go until it gets in MAP, because this week we have 5 homeworks due. 325, not due till Friday. It should be done. Guys, it was from Thursday of last week. It should be done. If it's not done, you need to make it a priority. We will check those answers maybe tomorrow, maybe not till Thursday. But try to not turn it in until we check answers. But if you have it done and you're I'm gonna lose this, you can turn it in and I'll give it back to you. But I try to turn papers around in a day. So all the stuff that got turned in yesterday, I gave back to people. 1 day turnaround is always my goal. Except for Thursday into Friday, I don't make any guarantees, because what's Thursday night for me? It's my game night. Yeah, so I make no guarantees about me doing homework on Thursday night. So, back during COVID, actually before COVID started, my friend bought a house near German Village. I don't know if you guys know downtown. There's Thurman's down there with the burger place. So, if you are curious about looking at plans of things that I've done, I love when people do that whole those that can't do teach. And then I say, normally I say things I shouldn't say while a computer is recording me. But I show them my binder of, let me show you how much I do math as opposed to just teach math. But so this was my chess set, if you're curious to see how I built that. Binder full of things I built or projects I've done. So, no joke, true story. We would go to Home Depot with this big van, the big conversion or whatever, the 15-passenger vans, and we would get really big lumber. Because lumber is cheaper when you buy it bigger and then you cut it down. And then there's a certain point where it gets more expensive, but we don't need to talk about that. So, we bought 16-foot long pieces of lumber one day. I want you to imagine right now, from this wall, how far would 16 feet be? Just imagine, pick a point in the room. Where would 16 feet get us? Do you think I'm at 16 feet yet? I'm at 6. Now, I like to, in my brain, imagine me, right? I'm trying to say, how big is this table? Well, could I lay on it? Would I fill up the whole table? So, 6 feet is me, right? You are probably somewhere between 5 and 6 feet. Some of us are getting close to 6 feet. So 16 feet is legitimately here. All right, so 16-foot long lumber. Not making this up. We're going to cut into 9-inch segments called blocking, which is what you put between things to keep them upright or keep them how you want them. So 16 feet, we're going to cut into 9-inch pieces. I want you to turn to a neighbor and talk about how are we going to do this problem. I accidentally erased my highlighting. So chat with each other. This is going to go on your graph paper, by the way.
Do this?
This is going to go on your graph paper.
Do you ever do this?
Do what?
Is this based off of personal experience?
Yeah, literally how many of these boards do we need to get? Because how many can I get out of each board? And if my project needs me to have 100 of these things, how many boards do I need to get? This is legit real world math. But there is a trap door Bum, bum, bum. Anyone able to point out the trap door here? Ooh, Soul?
Is it the fact that it's the difference between feet and inches, and feet is 12 inches per foot, so that it can't, so you can't just do 16 divided by 9?
Ooh, now how did you know we're doing division?
Because you need groups of 9, which is literally what division is.
Yeah, like we're gonna cut things up. When you do that repeatedly, we're divided. So Soul brought up 16 divided by 9, but I feel like Soul brought that up as I'm not allowed to do that. Why'd you say that, Soul? And if you weren't listening to Soul, tune in.
Because 16, 1 foot is 12 inches, and 16 feet is not 16 feet and 9 inches. Those aren't like equivalent. Like you can't really do that because it's the like amount of length per amount is different.
If I do 16 divided by 9, I get over 1. I get close to 2. Here's 9 inches. From the pink post-it to the pink post-it. 16 feet made it to here. Do you think I can only get almost 2 of these out of that? No, that's silly. Soul brought up the exact point. 16 feet, we know there's actually 12 inches in every foot. So we could figure out inches in the feet. Or, because, that would be too easy because we already know how to do that. My bad, I said the bad word. How much of a foot? Let's say I want to change inches into feet. How much of a foot is the 9 inches? I want you to turn towards a neighbor, figure out what could I rewrite my 9 inches as? Like, how much of a foot is it? Chat with each other. We're still going to use the fact there's 12 inches in a foot. Whoa! We're not going to call anything a stupid idea.
No, he said that he was about to do a stupid idea, and I'm like, if it's a stupid idea, then why would you do it?
Well, sometimes we got to do the bad ones to get to the good ones.
I did 12, 16 times.
The inventor of the Dyson vacuum, like one of the real expensive vacuums, said you get a good idea by like weeding out 1,000 bad ideas. Or I'm getting the quote wrong, but it's something like to get to the good idea, you got to get through the bad ideas.
It's like, isn't it like, I feel like I've heard this like really recently. It's like,
Here's a foot. You can go ahead. If you
yeah,
want.
it's like, one, like, must do 1,000 tries before, and on 1,001 try to get it right.
All right, so I heard somebody say it. 9 inches is how much of the foot? How do I set this up? It's 9/12. So 16 feet divided by 9/12 of a foot. Because, guys, there are 12 inches in a foot. So 9 out of the 12, 9/12. But 9/12, I feel like we can think about in a simpler way. 9/12. Is there an easier way to write those, Griffin? How? We can divide by 3 on top and bottom, practicing that reducing skill, and 3/4. Okay, so we've got 16 feet divided by 3/4 feet. We've got feet and feet, so I don't really have to put the labels on now. I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, what could we do now? Right? Now that we have 16 divided by 3/4, we learned something yesterday. What could we do now? Oh, hey, neighbor. What could we do now? How? To divide by a fraction, we learned a trick. What if you To divide by a fraction, we learned a trick.
No, it's a tip.
You're right, we learned a tip. Or here's a tip, the song says. Keep, change, flip. So we could keep, change, flip. But why would I do the same thing today that I did yesterday? That just feels kind of boring. Can anyone tell me how else we could talk about 3/4? Some of you are like, I love fractions. I think I'm starting to brainwash some of you. I love fractions. We're just writing this on graph paper, by the way, Isaac. It's not on your homework or anything. We're just kind of just randomly doing some math. I think a lot of us are like still trying to figure out what we're doing. But that's okay. I'm kind of just slow. I'm leading us to water. You still have to take the drink, though. 3/4. I don't want the answer. I want what else could we do? 3/4. How else could I think about 3/4? Mansa? Ooh. Manseb is saying this is really 0.75 because 3/4 is 0.75. Now, I don't know about you, but let's talk about your homework for a second, because when I see division, I kind of have this reaction about what I don't want to do. Have I shared enough with you guys that you know what I don't want to do with division? Yeah, long division. And that's where I will apologize, but I only asked you to do it once. No, calm down. Standard algorithm for division is long division. So if you want to go ahead and look at your homework paper for tonight, where it says standard algorithm, you could make a note that that means long division. Link, when you come ask me about this in extensions, I'm going to tell you I announced it during class. What is the standard algorithm for division? Maybe you'll remember it without writing it down, but I'm giving you time right now to write it down and set it up. So I don't really want to do long division. We talked yesterday, well, we've been talking a lot about division can also be written, instead of horizontally, we write vertically. How do we write a division vertically? What's it end up looking like? A what? A fraction. So we could rewrite this as 16 divided by 0.75. And then, of course, because you've always got a friend who's like, ooh, I can help you with that. And sometimes our friends are trying to help. Sometimes they help too much, and they do our math for us. I don't like long division, right? So I avoided long division. But I also don't like decimals. Is there a way that I could get the same division, but avoiding using those decimals? Is there anything that I could do? Turn to your neighbor and chat about, like, is there anything I could do to this fraction? Because now we made it a fraction. What can I do to make it so I've got whole number divided by whole number? Chat with each other. Maybe take like 20 seconds. You guys got any ideas? Jay, got any thoughts? Got any thoughts? About math? I mean, I'm sure you've got lots of thoughts. You're okay. You can pass if you want. I was just curious if you've written anything down that you were just struggling to. Whoa, we are not going to use people's names like that. That is rude. Because I could say, I don't want to be a J and be in a bad attitude, pouty Polly. But that's rude. So, try again. If you'd like to pass, you can. But don't throw shade at somebody else all because you don't know what to do right now. That's why we're in class. We're in class to learn. The only reason I give Kyra a hard time is she passes before she even gives her brain time to think about it. And I know that if she thinks about it, she can get to it. You might not know how to do this because we haven't practiced it very much. throw it to Monsef or something? Tag in Monsef.
What I thought was you could turn 0.75 to 75 hundredths.
It is 75 hundredths, but if you're, oh, you mean like, okay, that is 75 hundredths. Okay.
And the 16, 16 over 1.
Okay. Are you about to walk me to keep change flip? So you're right. We could keep change flip, but I could have just done keep change flip over here. I don't need to take this back to keep change flip. I'm trying to figure out just how to get this to whole number, whole number. Gonna turn around, throw it to somebody else, see if anyone else has an idea. Yeah. Percents aren't really necessarily whole numbers either, though. Like, you're right, we could. I just don't know if that gets us to whole number. Gonna throw it to somebody else, see what idea they have? Like, you aren't wrong. We could do that.
You could take the 0 from 0.75 and add it to the 60.
What do you mean?
So it's 160 divided by 75.
How did you do that, though? Because we can't just, like, take a number from here and put it that, like, what did you do? How do we turn 0.75 into 75? Anybody? We can multiply by 100 on top and bottom. But be careful, it doesn't just turn us into 160. It turns us into 1600. So be careful, we need to think through what we're actually doing. But that's the same division. Just using different numbers, but it's the same division. So look at part B of your first homework question. If you set up 15.75 divided by 0.25, what could we do to those numbers? Well, they both have 2 decimal places. So what could we do here? Same thing. Guys, yeah, literally, now that is the giant 1 because we're multiplying by the same thing on top and bottom. So CPM, which I love CPM. I don't want this to sound like I'm throwing shade. CPM would have us draw like a 1 around those because it's really multiplying by 1 when you do the same thing on top and bottom. Also, while we're looking at this paper, reminders. A product means you're multiplying. A sum means you're adding. You might want to make those notes if you can't just remember those vocab and you don't want to have to look them up or use homework help. Minus, you know what to do. And then we have another product, another sum. In 109, we get to do what I think you guys love doing, tell people why they're wrong.
Oh, yay!
That is fun.
You're wrong because.
Why is it because you can just say you're wrong for the fun?
Because then we have to correct it. All right, so let's try this one here. So they've got long division set up. I'm going to write it as not long division. They have 16 divided by 0.5. What could I do to make these both end up as whole numbers? Asher, what do you think? Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. This is not on your paper or anything. We're just writing this on a graph paper. We've got 16 divided by 0.5. Do we need it times by 100 here? Ooh, times by 10. So we're going to do times 10 to bump that decimal over, right? And then times 10, so that now makes 160. Hey guys, I want to review how to long divide with you because I know it's been a while for a lot of us. The numerator, I will admit I was too old when I figured this out, but it works. The numerator goes inside of the long division. I know it's silly, but I always was full of self-doubt of what goes where. So 160 goes inside, 5 goes outside. Does anyone still have confidence in how to long divide that you want to walk me through what we do? Mason?
You have to see how many times 5 can go into 160. Or it's,
Well, I know. How do I do it slowly? Like step at a time.
well, you see 5 and you see 160, you put the 5 and keep on putting it into 160 till you get.
Well, so can 5 go into 1 is the first question we ask. It's a silly question, but yeah. Can 5 go into 16? How many times? You should be doing this as a refresher, so it's on your paper. Yes, it is 3 times. So 3 times the 5 makes 15. We set up our subtraction. We get our 1, and then what do we do? Drop down the 0. How many times does 5 go into 10? Now guys, I'm going to show you why I think long division is still silly, even though this one wasn't bad. Let's go back to the beginning. 16 divided by 0.5. You guys know 0.5 is not the right way to say that. We could call it 5/10, but what's an easier way that we can talk about 5/10 anyway?
Half.
It's a half, right? So what we have is 16 divided by a half. Division by a fraction, what's our tip?
Keep, change, flip.
Keep, change, flip. So wait a minute, stick with me. Keep the 16. Change to what?
Multiplication.
Flip. Which feels easier?
Keep, change, flip.
Long division or keep, change, flip?
Keep, change, flip.
So I don't know about you guys, but I still think this circles back to keep, change, flip is a really good strategy, because here we would get 32 over 1, which is 32, which is the same thing we got up there. But it's your brain, right? You're only with me for 180 some days. You're with your brain forever. You have to decide what you like. If you like long division, that's fine. You do not have to agree with me. This is not a cult. I've been listening to podcasts and they keep talking about cults. I'm not trying to get you to believe what I believe. But you have to decide what you think is easier. Which way do you want to take? You gotta be able to divide somehow.
There's another way to do this.
There's often more ways. I want to make sure that we get through what.
160.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that we get through what we need to. Jay?
When you said you're not trying to make you believe what I believe, what separates a cult from a religion?
That's a connections question.
You just asked the same question.
Actually, let's just add 5 minutes.
Yeah, and literally in 7 minutes, bring that up in connections. Real quick, you don't even have to write this down if you don't want to. If we had 0.07 over 0.4,
Is that our homework?
no, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to write this down if you don't want to. But what would we want to do there to get it to whole number? Times 100. Why? Why not times 10?
Because you want both of them to be whole, even if one of them can only.
Yeah, times 10 would only bump us 1 place. It would fix the bottom. But Soul's saying we need to do times 100, so we'd end up with 7 over, we have to add a 0 here, so it would end up being 7 over 40. Just be careful. You want to look at which one has the most decimal places for what you need to do. The last 5 minutes are yours to work on practice. Reminder, Schoology keeps changing, so don't think what was there yesterday is all that's there. I don't think it changed today, but we've got our keep change flip reminder here. We've got videos about keep, change, flip. And we also, if anything says check the math notes, the math notes are here. You can also look in the e-book, or I can hand you a physical textbook if you would like to carry around a textbook. But I take most of those math notes boxes, cut them out, put them in a PDF to make your life easier, and they are here in a PDF. If ever it says look at math notes and you want to, come look at math notes. Harrison.
I was wondering about, do you have like, in your like game thing, you have like a game schoology thing, right?
Yes.
That explain the games. Does it explain all the games over there?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So what I did was, because I can get to like the forum websites, this text is not from me. That's from, if you go to Board Game Geek. Have you guys never been to Board Game Geek?
Will it let us on?
I don't think so, because it's a forum site. So people can talk to each other on here, right? Which most of those are blocked. But then I would come here, search it up, and then like copy paste over. But actually, it might not let me on unless I'm on the staff Wi-Fi. That's my speaker, not my Wi-Fi. Get out of here. Yeah, see, I'm not on staff right now. It's not going to let me on that website unless I get connected to the staff. But yeah, so then I copy pasted off of there. But then I went and found videos, because you guys can get to YouTube. But like, here's one of my favorite games. It teaches you how to play in 2 minutes. It's the rules, girl. But I got to stop recording.